Friends, if your content is not converting, you are probably missing this one thing. So excited to be over here live with you guys over on LinkedIn. I want to hit on this because it's not the algorithm. It is not the algorithm. It is your message. It's your message. So if your content isn't converting, you're probably missing just this thing. It's your messaging. I'm going to talk a little bit about the core components of messaging that land premium clients for me literally daily. Okay. So if you're showing up and you're sharing value and you're posting consistently and you're still getting crickets, maybe you've got offers people should be running towards, right? But they're not. And it's not because you need to post more. It's not because you need to post more. So over the next couple of minutes, you're going to be able to self-diagnose some of the content you're putting out and how you can up level it so that you can magnetize. Okay. You can magnetize the premium client. Okay. So what I'm going to talk about, you're going to hear me on my soapbox about this for quite some time. It is mirror messaging. Okay. Mirror messaging. It's about making your dream client feel so seen and understood that they assume that your offer is the only solution because you are a mirror to them. And what I mean by being a mirror to them is that you are calling out the micro specific things that they are experiencing or that they are saying to themselves that they aren't willing to say out loud. Sometimes they don't even know until you call it out that they are like, that is what I am experiencing, right? This is not manipulation, by the way. This is not manipulation. This is resonance. This is resonance. When you can get super clear on the micro specificities of how the problems are showing up for your ideal client and say the things that they are experiencing, this is when they are in your DMs investing high ticket with no pitches. Fact, it is Monday and we are closing 2 high ticket sales today, 24,000 in sales without a sales call, right? And it comes from my content and how I am speaking very specifically as a mirror. And here's the thing, most people only hit on 1, maybe 2 of the 4 things in their messaging that are necessary. We must blend all 4 of them, right? We have to blend all 4 of them. Otherwise, it begins to feel really, really flat. So if you watched my live last week, I actually jumped to number 2 in the mirror messaging framework, and that was desire, right? I talked last week about how we need to talk about what they want but can't fully articulate. It's the whisper to themselves that you're pulling out of them. And I led with that last week because in the mirror messaging framework, the 4 parts are symptom, desire, identity, and the premium lens. I didn't want to start with symptom. I'm jumping into symptoms today because most of you are actually overdoing symptoms, which is why I didn't lead with it. And when we overdo in one area, our content becomes really flat, and it's not multidimensional. And premium clients don't live in their symptoms. Premium clients don't live in being stuck. So when you overdo what I'm about to talk about and you don't blend it with the other 3 categories of mirror messaging, you tend to actually attract a lot of people in lack and scarcity who are casting blame on their problems, and you're going to get a lot of cost objections and people who don't move up your offer ladder. So you have to be careful, and the nuances are really important that I'm going to talk about today when it comes to how you're talking about symptoms. So problem number 1 is that many of you are overleading with symptoms and attracting a lot of lack and broke clients who aren't willing to pay. They need to effortlessly be woven in with the other 3 core components of mirror messaging, which is their desire and their identity. And that is who they already are and who they are becoming, right? Calling them forward along with that premium lens. So we're framing it through clarity and ease of strategic elevation. And what I mean by that is that your premium client doesn't need a full overhaul. They don't need a full rebuild. They need tweaking. So in your messaging and in your marketing, if you're marketing in the sense that like it's a whole lot of work, that for them to be completely redone or to get the results that they want, premium clients don't want that. Premium clients want the fast track, not from a lazy way, but from a strategic way. And so again, that's the 4 parts to mirror messaging. And when you layer these together, content actually becomes activation and not education or down in the depths of the shadow of the dark, dragging people through their pain, right? We want to effortlessly fold all 4 together so that buyers aren't waiting for a pitch. They lean in and ask, how do I work with you before you pitch anything, right? So what I'm going to talk about today is a little bit about symptoms, okay? Now, if you're watching this live over on LinkedIn, if you want to go deeper in the 4-part mirror messaging framework, I'm actually running an upcoming masterclass in the first week of November. I will drop the link to the masterclass in the chat in just a little bit, but we're going to go deep in all 4 categories, and we're going to give real-time examples, case studies, all the things. But today, I'm going to jump into symptoms, giving value and insight, okay, around symptoms, okay? So let's zoom in, because even some of you who are leading with symptoms and overdoing with symptoms, you're actually also still positioning wrong with the symptoms themselves, okay? By the way, I'm in a hotel room. I'm not in my normal space. I'm actually going to Amy Porterfield's mastermind this week, and I'm streaming live outside of my office, if you're wondering what this lovely glass plastic picture is behind me. Okay. All right. So symptoms. Where most of you are still even doing the symptom area wrong is most of you are focused on the problem that's causing the symptom. And the thing is, they don't care about the problem nearly as much as the premium client cares about you solving the micro symptoms that the problem is causing. This is a nuance. I'm going to give you some examples. Okay. It doesn't help in your marketing to just call out the problem. You don't have sales. You're broke. You're overweight. It's like, thanks, Captain Obvious, right? We want to talk about the micro specific symptoms that come along with their problem. Premium clients will pay top dollar for you to solve their micro specific problems that are specific to them. They will throw their credit card at you, right? Most people talk about their process and their steps and their brilliance, but your dream client isn't thinking that far out to your offer or even the named problem. They're thinking about the friction in their current experience. So like, write that down. Friction in their current experience, right? That's where your content needs to meet them as a mirror with what they are experiencing today. So how many of you would like some examples, right? Like, you know, I love to just give you guys real world examples and just not talk theory. Again, in my master class, we're going to go in the depths of this in the full framework. Okay. So I'll give you an example in my industry, and then how about I give you an example in someone who's in a completely different industry. We just went through this where I gave direct feedback to one of my my clients in my coaching container, and I'm going to use it as an example as well, who is in the recruiting space. But let's start with my industry, okay? So my industry, I coach professionals into building and growing and scaling a business in the online space. I have premium clients who tend to come from very established corporate careers, and they're transitioning into the online space, and they're trying to figure it out. They have been wildly successful in their previous careers. Now they're trying to figure it out here, right? And so, for instance, I could market to the problem. One of the problems that my ideal client is experiencing is they're operating without a CEO level roadmap and compass. That is the problem. They come out of corporate. They've been ingrained and raised since elementary school to sit at a desk, be given metrics, be given the test, told what they need to perform for, all the way up to being an executive. They have metrics and what they're accountable for. Now they're in the online space and they're floundering and they're paralyzed because there's so much space in their calendar and no one is telling them exactly what they're held accountable for. Now, some of you watching this right now might already be like, shit, she's in my head, right? Many of my clients come from corporate and are like almost overwhelmed with the unlimited possibilities, right? And secretly, they feel behind and almost ashamed that they can't figure it out because they were so wildly successful in corporate and they can't figure out how to make this translate in the online space, right? So how this shows up for them, I'm not just going to market that, you're operating without a CEO level roadmap. You're operating without a compass. No, we're going to talk about how every decision in your business right now feels reactive. You feel out of control. You feel like you're playing whack-a-mole. You have no plan beyond 30 days, right? You're burning time on tasks that don't move revenue because there's no operational clarity and you feel lost and it's giving you anxiety, right? And you can't see the big picture from visibility of leads to conversion of those leads into your sales and scaling it on the back end to create this massive business that you had the vision that you could launch and impact when you left corporate. And again, secretly, you feel like an imposter and you feel way behind. My friends, that is speaking to the friction of how it is showing up for them right now. And if any of you just heard me say that scrolling through LinkedIn and that's you stopped because you're like, she's speaking to me. She's in my head. These are symptoms, right? These are symptoms. And when content leads with the emotion of the friction versus just calling out the problem, it hits like a gut punch of clarity and it creates instant trust. And this is not manipulation. Again, this is resonance of like, she knows, she's been in corporate. She actually busted out of corporate and she's running a multiple 7-figure-a-year company and has embodied it. But she remembers the feeling and I can trust her because she's articulating exactly how I feel in this moment because she's been there, right? Very different than just naming the problem and driving people to their symptom, right? Okay, so that is a little bit about if you were in my world and you were gonna market. Now, let me give you an example if you're a recruiter. Had a call today, coaching, because this is what I do inside my coaching containers, reviewed her ideal client and reviewed her profile and where she was. And where we landed was that on LinkedIn, her headline and her profile really read like any other recruiter. So litmus test, go check your headline and your profile. And if it reads like anyone else in your industry, first of all, you're not standing out. Secondly, if it's leading with your title, it's leading with, chronological order of your career history, you have lost them. We need to lead with the micro-specific symptoms and how they're showing up. We are no longer employees, my friend, on LinkedIn. We are not employees. We are founders and marketers, and we must market to the pain and the desired state in a way that is a mirror to our ideal client to stop the scroll and stand out in the noise in a very saturated market. So how does this look for a recruiter? Well, first of all, we have to think about the symptoms that her client is experiencing, right? It can't just be, you can't get the job, you didn't land the job, you're having a hard time landing the job. Like, thanks, Captain Obvious. There's no emotional connection. There's no micro specificity, right? There's no emotion. Think about this. I keep getting interviews, but no offers. I've outgrown this job, but feel golden handcuffed, right? Almost guilty that I want more. I'm burned out, but scared to make the wrong move. I want to make more money, but without killing myself. I'm doing everything right, but not getting tapped for the next level roles. I'm not getting in front of the right decision makers. Do you see how this is emotionally tied to the problem? We're not just calling out the problem. We're not just dragging people through their symptoms. We're micro specific. Okay. Now, what we did specifically around symptoms is just to give you an example, in her profile, we rewrote it because she led with her career history and how she could work with them. And what we did is we reframed it and started with, we nodded to the premium client, we nodded to their ego and said, you're smart, you're successful, you're respected in your role. But if you're honest, boom, reframe. But if you're honest, this is where mirror comes up in the face. If you're honest, you're also exhausted from doing everything right and still getting overlooked for the next big opportunity. Stuck in a role that no longer challenges or excites you and wondering if it's too late to pivot. Craving more income, influence, or impact, but unsure how to ask for it or even what's next. See how micro-specific these symptoms are? Doubting whether you're cut out for leadership or fearing you're burnt out. You'll burn out if you take on more. This is where we're in their head with the friction that they're challenged with, right? If any of that hits home, you're not alone. Affirmation that you're not alone, right? And you're exactly who I help. Now, I want you all to hear how different that is in a profile than a traditional employee. Or a traditional recruiter who's like, I help you find your next job. Let me tell you how amazing I am and my career history and who I've worked with, right? We're leading with A, their symptoms, but B, what you got a glimpse of was the desired state. When we think about the 4 categories of mirror messaging, symptom, desire, identity, and premium lens, I actually gave you an example of desire piece as well. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole profile. You're going to have to come join my masterclass to learn a little bit more, right? But I will give you some other examples in other industries, like a health coach, right? A health coach may, when you're speaking to the micro specificity of symptom instead of just the problem, we would say you're tracking macros like it's your job, but you're still avoiding the mirror. Oof, right? Relationship coach. You're the strong one, the fixer, but you're tired of always carrying the emotional weight, right? Maybe you're a corporate coach. You're invited to the table, but never handed the mic, right? Now, these hit because they're not tactics. They're the truth behind your buyer's silence. Does this make sense? Right? We're calling out truth bombs. We're saying the thing they would never say out loud. They maybe subconsciously don't even know until it lands for them, right? And this is the thing. When you lead with the right symptom, you don't need a long nurture, okay? They're already sold. I bring people into my community quickly from low to high ticket because they feel seen, they feel mirrored, and they trust, because I am calling out what no one else is in the industry that they're experiencing. I'm calling out what they can't call out, right? Now, here's the kicker. Most people don't have a messaging problem. They have a mirror problem. Let's say it out loud. We have a mirror problem, right? And when your messaging can't mirror your buyer's internal dialogue, which again, isn't just down in the depths of the shadow of the valley of dark, it's not just the symptoms we talked about. You are going to lose the premium client if that's all you talk about. We have to call them forward and show them the shortest path to result is not as far away as they think. And we have to acknowledge how great their potential actually is and that they want to go from good to great. Now, I can't get into the weeds of all of this here, right? But that's why I created messaging that sells and powerfully on LinkedIn. When you pair my messaging that sells in my upcoming masterclass with the power of LinkedIn, which is where all the premium clients are hanging out without the noise, #1 trusted social media platform on the planet, right? This is where I'm going to be teaching the framework in depth and give you real-time examples, breakdowns, workbook, so that you can build your messaging campaign for Q4, right? So if you're tired of posting for likes, and if you're burnt out on teaching instead of converting, and if your offers, my friend, are brilliant, but you're not selling the way you should, you see how I just landed some premium messaging? Did you get that? Right? I just called you forward, right? This is your moment, right? Premium buyers don't want more tips. They want to feel seen. They want resonance. They want resonance, right? And when your content finally reflects what they've been trying to name, you'll become the one they're looking for, right? So register for messaging that sells. I've got a really cool VIP experience going on as well when you go to register. I'll drop the link to register in the chat, and we will see you there so you can map out your content strategy that is resonant and prints clients and revenue for the fourth quarter. We'll see you.